What's up, MMA community? I'm Josh Gidros. I don't have a name. I'm gonna have one just to have one whenever this video comes out, but it's your boy Josh, and I'm here to just talk MMA. There's a lot going on in the world right now. We'll see how much time we make out of it. I don't have a set time. We're gonna just see when we run out of shit to talk about. I don't know what this is gonna turn into. Journalism, analyst? I don't even know the difference, to be honest. I am analyzing stuff, and this could be considered a journal. So, whatever. Um, right now, there's a few big topics. There's quite a bit. Quite a lot of big topics. I mean, I guess that I could talk about. I guess that's why I've been wanting to talk MMA for a while, and a lot of people always come to me for my opinion, and they always ask why, and this, and that, and a third, and I guess I know a thing or two. So I'm here to talk about it. I'm a little drunk. Cheers. There's a lot to hate on me about. There's a lot to love on me about. And that's to be determined. So we're starting this video now to determine that. Um, not even really a big drinker. Mostly smoker. So we'll get that out the way. On to MMA though. I don't know which topic to stop about, but Khabib seems to be a big one to me because it's not big news right now. Not yet. To me, it's huge. MMA or Khabib has announced that he's stepping away from MMA completely, like coaching, fighting, and I don't know why this is a shock because his dad was a coach until the end of his days. Maybe Khabib doesn't want to go out the way that his father did. It's something that lays deep with me. Is someone that lost their dad at a really young age, um, and Khabib is young to be losing his dad at that age. So I say it that way. I lost my dad a lot younger. That's to be spoken another day. But Khabib has stepped away from MMA completely. He's reposted it. I can confirm it through that repost that it means that it is legitimate. So I take it as serious as that could be. There's no rebuttals or refutes of it this far, but him reposting it is like a confirmation to me. It's not big news at all. That's why I'm here to say like I feel like this is big news as one of the greatest of all time to step away from it completely. There's like others that go into like making gyms and to um, coaching and I mean, there's really not much else out there to do whenever you get away from fighting. I mean, Habib even started his own promotion. Very, very admirable. I haven't heard anything about it since, to be honest. He had that big Kevin Lee fight. He had Diego Sanchez on that same card. I mean, it was cool to see him host a promotion and him try and work his way into it. But you could see that clearly, like there was some possible spite there. I mean, maybe he felt like he just could have been treated by the UFC better, and so forth. I don't even want to dig down that rabbit hole, but that I feel like speaks big volumes for someone like him to want to do. So it's just crazy to see him walk away completely and him announce it. And after him retiring, after that one fight, you can take him by his word. He has always been a man of his word. He said he was going to knock out people. He said he's going to become champion. The things that he would say in the octagon give me goosebumps just thinking about it. He is so true to his character, and it it is to put in the topic of greatest of all time because of that. Who is better to their character than George St. Pierre, Habib, and Anderson Silva? Those are my top three. John Jones is definitely top five, and I give it to Demetrius Johnson, I'd say, at the top of my head. Those are the Mount Rushmore to me. I'd say Demetrius Johnson over John Jones. Demetrius Johnson has gone to cross promotions and proven himself to be the best in other promotions, and even in a cross super fight of Muay Thai and MMA. I could even put Mighty Mouse in my top three. It's debatable with him and George St. Pierre, to be honest. George St. Pierre overcoming his losses to Matt Serra and Matt Hughes are huge. It is absolutely huge, and America and the world loves to see people overcome their downfalls. You know what I mean? To get down and get back up. Beautiful story. Khabib never lost. John Jones only lost to himself. That's why it's really hard. And Anderson Silva just being the high influencer that he was to me personally. Personally. Now, I granted now, like Royce Gracie, UFC 1 beating 5 people in a night. I don't even know exactly how many people it was in one night, but the Gracie family in general, the top of the Gracie family are known to take multiple fights in one day and just come out on top. It's just fucking insane. So Gracies are just a league of their own. That's why it's hard to put them in the Mount Rushmore for me. But that's what it is right now. But I didn't even mean to get into my top five with this discussion. It's just Habib is just up there. You know what I mean? It's just he went out on his top. He is just a true man of his character, and he retired on top. It's just beautiful, beautiful story. Tragic story. We're gonna take a hard left turn here. Let's see how many minutes. I don't even know how many minutes I'm recording here, because I'm not live. Oh, 7 minutes in. 7 minutes of Habib, Dana White. God, it's crazy. Him and Ariel just going back and forwards. I'm sure if you're watching me, you know that. It's just that speaks for on its own. If you see Ariel and you see Dana's comment, which is very little, but it speaks high volume. Other people speak volume for it. Then there's Sugar Sean making his comment about Dana, and that's just Sugar getting publicity. You hit her, she hits you back. I don't know how much truth there is in that. We live in a weird world where we are trying to support our women, yes. But there is men out there that are like, women are women, bro. And that's fucked up in this stance. You know what I mean? Then there's also her comment, how she treated the situation. She's not treating it like a big deal. That's my biggest thing about this situation. They have been together 30 years. She just wants to sweep it under the rug and get it done. Or is it the first time that's been caught on camera and that's the reason why she's trying to sweep it under the rug? If it's the first time ever, now that I'm thinking about it now, I feel like there might be a bigger red flag from her. Maybe if this is the first time that this has ever happened to her, she would make a bigger deal out of it. I'm not a man that's ever witnessed a woman being hit in front of him. If I did, don't know how I'd react, but that's just not how I would see the situation. Even as I've been a man hit by a woman. Let's put it that way. I've been downtown, I've been drunk, just like how I am right now. Cheers. I feel like another drink is coming on. I guess that's how I'm so blunt about this whole situation. I guess that's why it might be so interesting that I'm talking about this and why I'm entertaining myself with this conversation, which is pretty interesting. Sorry for the loud, obnoxious noises. This is my boy Fletcher, by the way. I don't know. You're not going to be able to see him because it's just perfectly where I'm at. So he's a to be determined beautiful creature. With Dana White and that whole situation, I have been hit by one before. Just took it. I mean, it was in public, too. It was also in public. Also intoxicated. What can you discover in public that would cause an altercation? This is a public discovered altercation. Something on your cell phone or something in that arena. One of the two. They're in a completely different country. They were in Mexico, is what he said. I'm looking this way because that's where I see myself. Um, it. What? I don't know what she discovered. She was upset. She slapped him. Just a slap. I've been slapped. What is you feel that from someone? Does it suck? Yeah. But it looked like he was pretty upset with that slap. Like, man, I'm just getting like in my mind when I've been hurt, if I would ever react that way, it's because I felt justified that I shouldn't have deserved that slap. You know what I mean? I did not deserve that slap from you, so here's a couple more. Sugar Sean, in his perspective, and I'm only speaking in his perspective, you hit me, I hit you. You know, that's what causes that. It looked like Dana was going for two slaps in there, and I'm sorry, I don't have no so high editor to like just show you right here that this is where that happened, but if you look in that video, he went for a slap, and he was by no means trying to knock the girl out. You know, the girl being his wife. I don't know her name, Miss White. I'm sorry. I should do my research and just look up her name right now. By all means, they've been married for 30 years. She is a very respectable woman for Anna White. Anna White, respect to you because I do see a young picture of you and him together at a young age. He said he's known her since they were 12 years old, something crazy like that. I, in her stance, she's probably seen a lot. To take a slap is probably nothing. Uh, it's the public announcement to the world seeing it. That's the most hurtful part, probably, about it. I won't, and I don't say that it's nothing, and that's probably something that could be clickbaited if I was on a Joe Rogan stance. But I wouldn't say it's nothing. A girl to take any kind of hit is fucking traumatic, and that's to put it in a simple term. And I'm a person that's, you know, I like words to mean what they are. That's very traumatic in a public stance. Uh, I feel bad for her. I really, really do. I've never seen my mom be hit, and I'm very thankful for that. But the kids have to be involved in all that fun stuff, and for her to go through this and simply say, you know, we're working on it as a family, kudos to her. Very strong woman. I don't know what gets her to come to that term, but a lot of females would be really upset with that, I would imagine. Um, if I mean, I can never know what it is like to be female, but if I was a female, I can see a lot of females being upset with this whole view. Not just like her saying like, yeah, it's sweeping under the rug, which I personally, as a man, feel like she's just sweeping under the rug. I don't think it's cool. So the whole situation, feel bad for her. Yeah, my thoughts go out to her and the children. Dana, you've lived a great fucking life. I know you go through it, man, but you have a life to give to others at this point. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel in someone that's at the lower end of the chain. But that mm, that's for another topic, another day. Maybe when I get successful, maybe I'll just like fuck the world. I earned this. You know what I mean? So, but on another stance, so yeah, Habib, and then there's that fun video of, speaking of Habib, then going on Dana, there's Islam that's like just being. Maybe it's because the news came out about Habib being his own, entity and not being attached to the MMA world where Islam, and I came across this video of me being the MMA nut that I am. Just, him just being out in the cold, ice, snow, and just trying to show his mental strength. I feel like that's all just mental strength. I mean, yeah, you've already worked out, you're buff as fuck, you've gone through that strict dieting to be where you're at for so long. For so long, Islam has been in that spot, and just people have not noticed. That's what Islam is. Just people have been discrediting this man for so long, and him being refused fights by fighters for so long, where it's just like he is trying to show himself at this point. The dude has 5 million followers on Instagram. 5 million followers. I wasn't one of them, and I'm a huge fan of MMA. Granted, I should be following a lot more MMA fighters than I do. I will be changing that. I plan to make a MMA Instagram after all this. Maybe I come up with the name with it at the end of this. It's only been 16 minutes on the dot as I look to the camera. Um, it's just a lot of structuring that I have to play with this. So we'll see what's the outcome of this. But Islam is definitely shown mental and physical strength, and it is a force to be reckoned with. I didn't believe it at first, and now I do. Previously, it was just a question until Oliveira, honestly. Oliveira's faced some of the best, who have faced best of the best. If he hasn't faced the best of the best, he's faced people who have faced best of the best. And goes Justin Gaethje facing Khabib, for example. Um, it's just, and it does suck that Khabib retired for that reason because mm, Khabib versus Islam honestly is a super fight on its own. Russia versus Russia. Could you imagine? It just gives me a little tingle just thinking about it. It's like teacher versus student, but it's not teacher versus student. It's like mentor versus student in a sense. My mentors in IT, which is my field right now, are sometimes younger than me. A dude who just left my company is younger than me, and he was my mentor. In a stance, you have multiple mentors in life. And even in the same field, you know what I mean? I don't even mean that just in life, but yeah, you have multiple mentors in boxing, you have multiple mentors in MMA in general, especially because of how wide diverse that is. But just in any section, like in wrestling, you can have multiple mentors. So for him to lose a mentor and to not possibly face him, or maybe I don't even know if that was even a thought at any point in his career because they were both in UFC for so long together. Um, I don't know if that was even a consideration. Um, and those are the biggest topics I will say. Um, and some beautiful moments in history right now with the UFC. Alex Pereira brought the UFC belt back to his tribe. I would say tribe because it looks like he's a very tribal person. The way that he dressed up and the way that he presented the belt in his picture that I saw, very scary looking. Looks like he could be a commander of a tribe for sure. I say tribe in a very broad stance. You know what I mean? Because every country has its major tribes that it's had in the day. Specifically, it seems to be the Latin ethnicity, but I wouldn't say Native Americans are Latin, but they definitely have a Latin feel to them. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But it's just very beautiful to see. Charles Oliveira was a great example of that, but he didn't do it to the full extent of this. So we'll see what the reign is of Alex versus Charles. Charles, he's faced a diversity. Do I think he can come back? Yes. Do I think he can overcome and beat Islam in the future? That lightweight title. it's a fun division. Seeing who's got to fight and come back in that division is fun. Because now Alex has got to fight him, and Alex is just kind of small. But Alex is strong. Now it brings up that topic, which is huge. Alex is going to be fighting Islam. Do I think Alex can beat him? Who is Alex beating, bro? But who's Islam beating? That's what's so exciting. Oh my god. Fuck. Alex has great wrestling. He has great wrestling defense. But Joe Rogan put this in my thought. That Alex Ortega submission that he almost had Volkanovski in. If that was Islam, it would have been over. Full mount guillotine. Full mount guillotine. Like, you're on top of this guy, and you have him under. You're on top, bro. How do you survive that? Took a lot of will just to survive that with Brian. But against Islam, man, Islam striking isn't too bad either. But Alex is a force to be reckoned with. But so is Islam. They're both these forces to be reckoned with that have been doubted for so long, and they were waiting for the person to prove them wrong. That's what this fight is. It is too... Like, this is the most, like, if I saw minus 100, that would be the most accurate, equal fight that I've ever seen. In that stance. Just in that mention. Because Islam has been knocked out. Alexander has almost been submitted. I think Alex is planning to knock out Islam. I think Islam is focusing on what he does best, which is I get people to the ground and I suffocate them, just like my mentor Khabib. But I don't have Khabib on this one. What if Khabib is gone? This is the first time I haven't had Khabib in my corner. Boom. That is huge. I don't care who you are. Something big in your corner changes. That's just life, bro. If Khabib is not there for that big fight, Habib, to say that Khabib doesn't play a big part, I feel like would be kind of, I don't want to say foolish, but it would be disregarding. Because Khabib does play a big part in that man's life, I would imagine. And if he does, and I feel like that's the answer, if he does as much as I think he does, and maybe that video him today showing his mental strength was to him to cover up that news, he may be facing some troubles. Alex has got his team. He's always had his team, and he's probably in his prime. To be in your prime and to be your chief messed up that way, it's got to be a little hard in some kind of way. You adapt, right? You will adapt. Every human in their life, and this is a message to everyone in their life, to you. Like, it doesn't matter who's fucking watching this. You will adapt to this situation in your life. Doesn't matter what it is. You will adapt. Sometimes adapting is unfortunate. Most of the times, it should be fucking positive, though. Unfortunate being, you don't have a man in your corner. You might get knocked out. That's an Alexander's positive. and that's to Islam's negative, was what I should say. To Alexander's positive, you're just staying consistent, you're doing what you're doing. You can only gain an expertise at your point. You're doing so great. I mean, who's to say that Alex was doing great though? This is life. This is fucking life. I only know what I see from Alex. But seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. I don't know what his live life is like, but as far as like his life in general, as far as training, the man's mental game is just up there. And it makes me think of like Ryan Gordon's status. Ryan Gordon, pretty new on the guy. They say his mental strength is through the roof though. Um, is he a motivation? Yes. Is he a mentor? No, not to me. Steroids, yeah, I'm good on that. I'm gonna work on my natural self. If I hit that barrier one day, you know, it is what it is. I will make my judgment then. I make no judgment now. He's just not a mentor. Is his skills and stuff like that admirable? 1000%. That dude is a killer. He calls his shots, much like a Conor McGregor of jiu-jitsu. Just well, not as many people are watching jiu-jitsu as they were MMA whenever they were watching MMA. Ryan Gordon, admirable, not mentorable, that kind of thing. You know. So, with that being said, Islam and Alexander just Alexander. Maybe one day something will come out against one of those dudes. Russia, as a lot of people like to mention, uh, Russia has made a lot of mistakes in the past Olympics and stuff like that. They just want to show that they're the best. Khabib and his crew, being as tested as I'm sure that they are trying to show that there is a real deal to come out of Russia. Pretty interesting to see out of Russia. That's the only positive that I see out of Russia. You know what I mean? With the whole war and stuff and like that coming down. And I don't mean to be political. It's hard to be American and see Russia in a positive stance. You know what I mean? Besides MMA, I love MMA, and Russians are a huge part of MMA, and they're not really big in boxing as they once were. I guess. I mean, I wasn't there back in the '80s and stuff like that, or never less the '70s and the '60s, but um, Rocky made it seem like Russia was a huge part of boxing when it really wasn't. But you know what I mean? To hear about the Tyson days and the Ali days and stuff like that was really an American thing. But it more of a metaphor to see it come to fruition from coming from something that wasn't really there that those days whenever that was a thing to now. There's really a truer statement to it. I feel like there is going to be a movie one day that talks about Khabib versus Connor, the dolly throwing at the bus, and maybe like Connor's story of like afterwards and how he became the businessman and possibly more of an alcoholic than he'd like to admit. With Habib being more in the religious state whenever they could have been brothers, and maybe one day they will be brothers. You know what I mean? I could predict that. Maybe just hold me to that. I never thought about that until to this day that Habib and Connor can totally squash their beef one day, especially with Habib getting out of the fight business. And if Connor one day admits to him seeing his perspective on things, you know what I mean? I don't think Connor's an idiot. I think he is a smart person. I think there is a lot of truth to what he says, but I think there's a lot of narcissism that's blocking a lot of his intelligence. Let's just put it that way. Um, but yeah, as far as like today's talents and such like that, When I think Connor, I think Sugar O'Malley. Sugar Sean O'Malley is doing all the right things to get the attention and to get his money and stuff like that, and to get the win. His fight over Jan is way more beautiful than you would say versus like Patty versus Gordon, but maybe Patty versus Gordon is like his fight versus Cheeto, but he just so happened to come out on top. You know what I mean? So it's very cool to see where the UFC is at today with these superstars, quote unquote superstars. I don't know if they're superstars. Yeah, Patty and Sugar. I guess I could say they were superstars. Um, Superstars in demographics. You know what I mean? Like Suga is probably known across the country here, and Patty is probably known across the UK over there. You know what I mean? I know who both of them are, but I can't speak on the world. You know what I mean? So there's that stance on that. I think both are doing great. Do I think Patty lost his last fight? I need to rewatch it to be honest, but I was falling asleep during it because it was so fucking like not a Patty fight that I was used to. That I do think that he lost from what I saw. I fell asleep during the Patty parts where he was dominating, and I was awake during the parts that Gordon was winning. You know what I mean? So, in my stance, the excitement was with Gordon, and that's where it wins me as a fan that night. Now, I'm more of a fan than Patty than Gordon still at the end of this day. I don't even know who Gordon was until that fight, to be honest. And I watch MMA fights. Like, I like to say I watch beginning to end, cards, but I forget the prelims sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just, unless you have a crazy knockout or a crazy submission, I'm going to forget you, man. I'm sorry. But Gordon has earned my respect as a fan for him winning or for him losing a controversial fight against Patty. I know he's a great fighter after that. So just like Gordon is just like Cheeto. I didn't really know about Cheeto until Sugar fought him. You know what I mean? Sugar knows him. Everyone knows Sugar up until that point, and then he lost that controversial fight where it's not really controversial. He lost that fucking fight. He likes to say that he's undefeated. You know what I mean? And it's funny. It's funny to even hear his stance on it. You know what I mean? I'm glad he even explains his stance on it. You know what I mean? But Cheeto's a fucking force to be reckoned with, and he did not just win that fight because it was just a big toe on the leg, my dude. He is a fucking good fighter, and he's proven it. But he's lost against Jose Aldo. So, um, there's something to be said about that. We're on 33 minutes on the dot. I don't want to make this too long. I'm just trying to stay on exciting topics. That's my first time talking about this stuff, but Cheetah versus Sugar's a great rematch to come, but it's also a great comparison to like what Gordon could possibly become for Patty. You know what I mean? Possibly Gordon can be knocking out some fools here soon, and he can possibly get that rematch with Patty. We'll see. Um, we're gonna do one more last thing here, and that's just examine the most recent. Oh, that's bright. The most recent fight coming up this next weekend: Calvin Gastelum versus Emma Bob. Sorry, Emma Bob. Um, Gastelum's he's a force to be reckoned with at times, right? But he sh- he just doesn't know how to fit in where he is, and I feel like it's too late for him to fit in where he's at. Let me see these stats. He's 31 actually. Um, there's like people like Jared Cannonier and who's the other dude? Rumble Johnson. R.I.P. Anthony Rumble Johnson. I salute you, bro. You are fucking phenomenon. There's people that just catch it in their late runs, you know what I mean? But Kevin has a huge height and reach advantage or disadvantage. This dude is 6'2" versus Kelvin is 5'8". 75 inch reach advantage to Imavov versus Kelvin's 71.5 inch reach. Sorry, Kelvin. It's gonna be a hard fucking fight for you ahead. You have great wrestling though, so I do feel like you have something there, and you put on a great fight against Izzy, so you're a wild card. But I do think Imavov's gonna win that. Danny Ige versus Damon Jackson. That's a great fight. I feel like Damon is honestly in his prime. If not his last fight was his last prime, but maybe possibly this one's his prime. It's hard to say. I mean, the dude's 31 or 34, and Danny Ige is 31. They have the same reach, but height goes to Damon, so there is something to be there. I feel like whenever you get the reach up, have seen it where fighters that are taller just win. So I do kind of feel like I have Damon on that. Let's see their last fights here though, real quick. Yeah, Danny Ige lost his last fight, and then he lost against Josh Emmett, and then he lost against Korean Zombie, but he did beat Gavin Tucker in a good fight. So, let's check out Damon though. He won his last fight, his last two fights, the last three fights. He won all three fights in 2022, and he won his only fight in 2021, which is Charles Rosa, which was a good fight. He lost one fight versus a K on the first round versus 2020, but he won his first round of that year in a submission. So yeah, I feel like I feel like Damon is really feeling himself. So I think I'm gonna give him to that. Paulinho Serrano, that's my boy. I don't know who this Roman cat is, but they have the same record of 9-2. Same. Oh no, never mind. So my boy has a 3-inch height disadvantage. So he's 5'9" versus 6 foot. Sorry, a little dyslexic. My boy Serrano has 72.5 inches of reach, and Roman has 75 inches of reach. Let me see who Roman fought last. Roman fought Churchill, and Churchill was okay, and he knocked him out in the third round. But he lost a decision before that. He was supposed to fight Sam Alvey, didn't happen. Roman's kind of just off and on. I mean, he's lost two fights in the UFC. He's only won one, so his two losses are in the UFC versus Paulinho, who's my boy. I've been really entertained with him since I've seen him start. Damn, he lost against Nick, who's Nate Diaz and the Diaz boys' buddy. But he got a KO after that. So he came back. And he had a KO before that fight against Matt Nick, and then he had a KO in his first fight ever in the UFC. So I have to give it to my boy. He's a good KO artist. You know what I mean? I'll have to look more into Roman, but right now that's how I see it. And then Pennington. Ooh, um, that's a good fighter versus Vieira. Vieira though, Caitlin, she's bad, man. She's been in the UFC since 2016. It looks like won her first fight ever, won her second and third. Won her fourth against Kat Zagano. Lost her fifth fight against my girl Irene Aldana in her other fight in 2019. But then she won against Sarah Eubanks, which I'm glad to see. Sorry, yeah, Sarah. I'm just not the biggest fan of you after I heard about that news. Beat Misha Tate, and I'm not going to get into that news. If you don't know, you don't know. Beat Holly Holm. See, Vieira is just on this fucking streak where I feel like that's definitely her fight. But Pennington, she has heart. It's hard to say like that she would lose that fight. And then Umar Nurmagomedov. Man, you're gonna fight without your boy Khabib? That's your cousin, bro. At least I think it's his cousin. Don't quote me on that. Um, but you're 15-0 against a 17-3. Basically the same height. You have 2-inch reach advantage. Let me see if this dude's. He's been in the UFC since 2017. One loss in the UFC, two losses in the UFC. I bet you all his losses are in the UFC. Yep. No, no, maybe not. Okay, he has one loss outside of the UFC. Umar, let's see how long you've been in the UFC. Umar's only been in the UFC for two fights. Brian Cavalier, that's a great fight. Nathan Manis, which is another great fight. But that went the distance, but he did dominate him with takedowns and such. So, at first glance, I have Umar. Just first glance, and I have only seen him a couple times fight. I don't know who this Raniano guy is as much as he's been in the UFC for so long, you know. I should probably know more. That's our main card. If I mean, besides the Jimmy Flick fight, I am a big fan of Jimmy Flick. I do hope he wins, but Charles Johnson has a great record, so let's just look at that real quick. Only 1 year, year difference. Charles is 2 inches taller, 2 inches longer as far as reach, and his only fights, he's 1-1 in the UFC. Okay, so it's both those went to decision. He lost a fight that it looks like he maybe should have won. There's a lot of takedowns involved. And very close second fight. So I don't know the caliber of this fighter, to be honest, against the fighters that I do see he's fought against. But let's see here real quick. Jimmy Flick, I did like his last fight. Let me see who he's been against. Cody, that was a submission. It was a submission. I can't hold Jimmy to that. I mean, great fighter, but who knows who's going to win that one, so don't hold me to that one. But a lot of great exciting fights to come on the prelims. There's a 5-0 versus a 8-1. There's also a 16-1 versus a 6-0 versus also a 13-0 versus 10-0. So this is exactly why I love to watch the prelims. I hope you tune in for the prelims. It's going to be next weekend. But this is my fight analysis slash journalism of today. I don't think this is really journalism because I'm not really spoiling any news except for I feel like it's confirmed that Khabib is retired. Kudos to him. I give him all due respect, and I wish him the best. And I did go 11-11 on my picks that night whenever I did some bets. So it was really cool to pretty much pay for his autograph poster, which then doubled that I got for free that night. So with my money that I bet that night, I won $500. That $500 went to that poster that was autographed by him and Justin Gaethje for his last fight ever. That poster went for $1,400, but after taxes and fees, I got $1,100 out of. So, it was one of the highlights of my UFC watching to have bets involved and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, Habib, I wish you the best. You've made me pretty much $1,100 just betting on you and other people on your card, and I think you deserve the sail off into the sunset, bro. If you don't want to be coaching, it's hard for me to accept, but I get it. You know what I mean? If you can step away from fighting like that, you can step away from coaching like that. I feel like is my conclusion for it. And I feel like it only solidifies your legacy that you were stepping away from MMA altogether after you stepped away from fighting. So kudos to you. I highly doubt you will ever watch this, but if you ever watch this, fucking awesome. But yeah, dude. Um, that is my conclusion on MMA of today. It is January 7th of 2023. This is Josh Goodrow signing off. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see what news I have for you next time. Have a great day. Cheers.